What happens when a chosen one stops having sex? It's not what the world expects, and the spiritual world knows it. Behind every act of abstinence lies a silent revolution, one that shifts atmospheres and unlocks hidden power. This isn't about repression. It's about revelation. When sacred energy is protected, all of heaven takes notice. When a chosen stops having sex unconsciously, it's not because they're running away from pleasure. It's because they finally understand what this energy represents. And when that choice happens, all hell breaks loose. The spiritual forces that previously fed on your distraction begin to stir because they know they have lost access. And you feel it not in words but in the atmosphere, in the silence between thoughts. How looks change, how some people disappear, how from one moment to the next you see yourself different from what you were yesterday. No, this is not repression. It's not religion, it's not fear, it's awakening. The truth is that the body of the chosen one is not a simple container. He is a portal. It carries codes, vibrations, gifts. The sexual energy that flows within you is one of the most powerful forms of creation that exists. It can generate life, but it can also open doors to spiritual death if used without awareness. And when you begin to awaken, this realization no longer leaves you alone. The empty touch begins to weigh down. The purposeless kiss seems to steal more than it gives. The bed that once made you feel alive now leaves you exhausted, confused, disconnected, because your body no longer just wants pleasure. He wants purpose. He wants alignment. And then you start to realize that sex was never just physical. It was always spiritual. It was always an exchange of fields, of souls, of frequencies. Even if the other person doesn't know, you feel. When her energy enters you like a dark mist. Feel when the desire was just a disguised lack. Feel when after the pleasure, the emptiness becomes even greater. And you start to ask yourself, why am I tired without motivation, without focus, even after something that should energize me? It's because it wasn't just pleasure. It was an invasion, and conscious sex opens gaps. It connects you to people who perhaps should never have stepped foot in your field. Demons disguised as attraction, shadows masked by passion. And the most dangerous thing, desires that are not yours begin to visit you. Thoughts that seem to have no origin begin to take up space within you, and you feel like you're carrying something that isn't yours. This is real, and it is spiritual. This is why the chosen one at some point begins to feel the need to withdraw to save your energy. It's not because you lost the desire, it's because desire has changed form. He went up, he transformed. It stopped being an impulse and became a channel, light channel, revelation channel, power channel. You realize that when you say no to empty sex, you are saying yes to your mission. And that yes is powerful. This yes is a signal to the spiritual world, an alarm that goes off on the other side of the veil. Entities feel the system feels it, because a conscious chosen one is a threat. Not a threat to others, but to the forces that live on unconsciousness. And then the war begins. The world tries to pull you back. The flesh screams. Temptations increase. People from the past reappear with rehearsed phrases, promises, looks as if they knew exactly where to press. But you have also changed. Now you see, now you feel it before you touch it. Now you hear what the silence is saying. And all of this happens because you made a choice that few have the courage to make, to keep what is sacred. And when a chosen does that, all hell shakes. Because this energy that was previously used to fuel escape is now being used to build, to heal, to manifest. She goes up. It becomes prayer. It becomes intuition. It becomes a spiritual gift. You start to dream more, feeling more, hearing more clearly. What used to be a whisper. It's as if heaven said, now you are ready to receive what you previously could not sustain. And you feel it. You feel like something big is approaching. Not in the form of applause, but in the form of a mission. But this is just the beginning, because the real reason hell fears the resignation of a chosen is yet to come. So make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with this revelation for your life. And if possible, comment below, I am a chosen one. Let's create a community of healing and guidance to follow our purpose. Now, what many do not understand is that the renunciation of a chosen one is not a denial of pleasure, but a silent yes to their own completeness. And that bothers you because we live in a world that teaches you that you are only whole if you are with someone, that you are only valuable if you are desired, that you're only alive if you're being touched. But the chosen one, when he enters this process, realizes that this is all illusion, that much of what they called love was attachment, that what seemed like connections were needy exchanges, that what seemed like pleasure was escape. And when he resigns, he's not repressing himself, he's listening to himself. It is at this moment that the soul begins to scream for depth. He doesn't want any more emotional crumbs. He no longer wants soulless touches, empty presences, encounters that do not elevate. And this hunger for something more doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. It doesn't come from rules, but from an internal realignment. As if after years of eating spiritual fast food, the body began to cry out for real food. You try to go back to old patterns. He even tries to repeat the rituals of the past, but something doesn't fit anymore. What used to work is now annoying because the soul has matured and she knows she deserves more. This is where the true transformation process begins. The sexual energy which previously escaped through the fingers in the form of an impulse begins to be accumulated, refined, directed, and slowly it rises. It goes up to the heart for the mind, for the spirit, and something changes. Dreams become more vivid, answers come before questions, intuition sharpens like a blade, and you begin to perceive the presence of the invisible with a clarity that was previously impossible. Not because the spiritual world has changed, but because you cleared the channel, and that has a price. Because at the same time as his light increases, the attack also intensifies. Hell tries to pull you back because you have become dangerous. You have stopped serving as a source of food for entities that feed on lack, lust, blind desire. You closed doors, cut off access, protected your frequency, and now everything that vibrated in low density around you begins to become uncomfortable. Temptations return with more force. But now they come in disguise, in pretty faces, in sweet words, on invitations that seem harmless. But the chosen one, now awakened, feels it before he falls. He knows he can no longer open gaps, that everything has a price, that each delivery is a seed. And what kind of fruit do you want to reap? This is where the polishing process goes deeper, because in addition to external temptations, internal confrontation begins. The lack hits, loneliness tightens, the ego screams. And you wonder if you're going crazy, if you are repressing yourself too much, if you lost something along the way. But you soon realize you didn't lose it. You gave it back. He returned what wasn't his, what didn't fulfill you, which just took up space without purpose. And with this space now cleared, heaven begins to work. You begin to see what previously went unnoticed. A touch that comes with the wrong intention, a compliment that carries manipulation, a desire that is not yours, and then everything changes. You start to walk more steadily, speaking more clearly, choosing more consciously, because now you are whole. Whole in itself, whole with God. And those who are whole don't need halves but loneliness. Oh, it comes, and it's not just any loneliness, it's a deep loneliness, almost existential, the feeling of being among many and yet not belonging. You look around and feel like you're on another frequency. He tries to explain what he is experiencing, but no one understands. They try to convince you that it's an exaggeration, which is a phase, which is religiosity. But you know inside you know, because even without words, the soul recognizes the path. This solitude is sacred. It is there that the chosen one learns to hear the voice of God without intermediaries. It is there that he discovers his strength. It is there that he reconnects with his essence. And little by little he realizes that he was never alone, because there are presences that the eyes cannot see. There is protection that the body does not feel. There is love that does not depend on anyone, and that love is what transforms everything. What once seemed empty is now peace. What once seemed like punishment is now preparation. What was once desire is now vision. And you understand it wasn't about stopping having sex. It was about starting to create a different reality, cleaner, more aligned, more yours. Because when the chosen one saves his energy, all hell shakes, but heaven smiles. The energy you held on to, which was once uncontrollable desire, is now direction. It's creative impulse, it's a vision of the future. You start to dream about projects, about paths, about words that touch you. Suddenly, something that seemed dim inside you lights up, an inner light, a silent but steady fire. And that fire doesn't burn, it heats up, illuminate, direct. You notice that you're more present, that your words carry more weight, that your presence causes something in the environment. People start to notice even without understanding. They don't know how to explain it, but they feel it. They feel firm. They feel peace. They feel like something in you has changed. It is spiritual authority being born, not the one imposed by rules or titles, but the one that comes from within, from a place that no one sees but everyone feels. This authority is born when someone masters their own energy, when someone is no longer guided by impulse, but by conscience, when someone manages to say no to what the majority accepts without thinking. And here begins a new challenge, sustaining this new level of vibration, because the more light you carry, the more you need to take care of your own frequency. It's no longer possible to mix with anyone. You can't pretend you didn't see it anymore. You can no longer go back to places you have already overcome. You become a channel, a point of connection between heaven and earth. And every channel needs to be clean, aligned, firm. You start to feel it in your body, in sleep, in thoughts. A diversion of attention is already heavy. One nasty comment is already hurtful. The wrong company already sells out. It's as if your spiritual system is much more sensitive. And it is because now you are an instrument, and tuned instruments cannot be played anywhere. Maybe you'll start to change your habits, routine in a circle. Maybe you'll lose friendships. Maybe people say you've become strange, distant, too lofty, but deep down you know it's not distancing, it's elevation. You are not moving away, you are moving up. And not everyone will be able to keep up with you on this new level, and then something even deeper happens. That energy that you previously gave out of lack, out of habit, out of impulse, now begins to manifest itself in another way. You realize you have more courage, more creativity, more clarity. Start creating things with your eyes, with your voice, with your presence. You enter a place and people feel it. You speak and something rings. You write and someone cries because your energy has been purified, refined, and now she heals. And this is real. Transmutation is real. The same force that could sink you now lifts you up. The same energy that once left you stuck in cycles now pushes you towards your destiny. And it all started with a choice. Stop giving your energy unconsciously. This choice became a bridge. It became a channel. It became power. But be careful. The test continues. The enemy or the forces that vibrate in unconsciousness do not give up easily. They know you are valuable. They know that if they fall you again, they gain access to a rare light source. That's why the temptations keep coming in dreams, in memories, in fantasies that you thought you had already outgrown. And everything feels so real, so vivid, so familiar, like they're trying to pull you back to the old frequency. But you now you feel it. Now you have discernment. And when the chosen one has discernment, he becomes a fortress. Not a fortress of stone, but of light. A light that is not aggressive, but firm, that does not impose, but protects, that doesn't need to be explained, but it is felt. And the more you live in that light, the more you move away from the noise of the world, from the noise of opinions, from pressure from others. You stop seeking approval, stop depending on praise of applause, because you have already validated yourself from within, and that validation is unbreakable. At this point, the chosen one begins to attract looks that he hadn't seen before. People begin to approach you, not out of interest, but because they need the light that you now carry. Injured people, confused people, people who are where you once were. And then comes the call. Not with noise, but with silence. Not with an audible voice, but with an internal certainty that you can no longer ignore. You need to serve. Serve with what you lived, with what he overcame, with the energy that now no longer flows through the fingers, but is transformed into words, actions, direction. And serving my brother, my sister, is the greatest act of redemption there is. Serve. That word begins to pulse inside the chosen one like a drum that doesn't stop. And it is not serving out of obligation. It's not because someone told you to. It's because you simply can't ignore it anymore. It's as if everything you've experienced up until now, every renunciation, every tear, every night of silence, has prepared you for this exact moment, for this awakening, for this call. You become a channel not from yourself, but from something bigger. A channel between heaven and earth, between pain and healing, between chaos and direction. And no, that doesn't mean perfection. It does not mean that you have now become a saint, or that you are immune to the ups and downs of life. It means you are aware who knows where he's stepping. That feels when something is out of alignment. Who chooses responsibly where he puts his energy, his attention, his presence. This is mature spirituality. That's authority without shouting. This is light without needing to shine to be seen. But this new state also requires care. The more you become a channel, the more you need to keep your field clean, because you can no longer clog yourself with distractions that once seemed normal. You can no longer go to certain environments. You can no longer accept any invitation. You can no longer ignore that intuition that says not there. You have become another person. Or maybe he just went back to being who he always was, before he became contaminated with the noise of the world. And here begins a curious phase repositioning. Many chosen ones after this awakening change everything. They change cities. They change their routine. They even change their profession. They begin to feel that the old environment no longer supports the new one that is being born. And even if they don't know where to go, they feel like they can no longer stay where they are. It is the calling manifesting itself in practical life. God moving everything around to align you with your purpose. You feel this when you start to feel like creating right, to talk, to help someone, to play with the word, to get involved in something that brings real transformation. And sometimes you don't even know where to start. But the impulse is there, and he won't go away because it's not about you. It never was. It's about what you carry. It's about what you will deliver to the world, now that you are no longer wasting your energy in exchange for crumbs. It's at this point that you realize you're ready. And not because everything has been resolved, but because you finally understand that you don't have to be perfect to serve. You need to be willing, it needs to be present, it needs to be clean inside. And you are, because hell has already noticed. Heaven has already recognized it. Now it's time to act. You start to look at the world with different eyes. See pain hidden behind smiles. Notice invisible currents in someone's words. Read people's souls with a glance. And more than that, you know what to say. You know when to shut up, know when to impose, know when to donate. Because now wisdom doesn't just come from the mind, it flows from connection. You are guided, intuited, sustained. And that strength moves you like never before. And the most beautiful thing of all, you start to see fruit. People who hear a phrase from you and change their day. People who say, "This saved me." Comments that make you cry because they show that silent renunciation back then generated healing in someone you've never met. This is serving. This is channeling. This is living with purpose. But remember, this mission is not light. She asks for constant resignation. It demands daily listening. She demands alignment. And still you wouldn't trade it for anything, because the peace you feel now, no one gave you. It was built inside you. Brick by brick, fight for fight, silence for silence. And that peace became his shield, your signature, your lighthouse. You no longer need to explain what you live. You just need to live. And anyone with the same frequency will feel it. You'll recognize it. It will arrive, and this is the new cycle. New, aligned connections. Deep friendships, relationships based on the soul, not on desire. People who understand you effortlessly, who listens to you with presence. That adds up. Doesn't suck, because now you vibrate differently, and your vibration became your filter. So now, chosen one, it's up to you. What are you going to do with this energy that has been returned to you? What will you build with the power that previously slipped through your fingers? Which voice will release to the world the authority that was born from your renunciation? Because there's no point pretending you don't know anymore. You know, you feel you have awakened. And when a chosen one awakens, the world is never the same. The light that now accompanies you is the same one that will illuminate the paths of those who are still in the dark. The strength you cultivated in silence will be shelter for those who scream for help today. Your presence will be healing. Your word will be a bridge, and your story will be testimony. So go walk in faith with courage. Truly, heaven has already seen you. Hell has already lost you. Now it's time to transform.